Oh, there we go. You guys see and hear me? Making sure everything's working right now. Still trying to figure out the whole live stream thing. Hello, Christopher. Noel, busy weekend. Hope yours as well. Arthur, have you used the Subaru upper engine cleaner? I have not yet. Actually was looking at purchasing the tool and the cleaner the other day from Amazon through SubaruParts.com, but haven't come across the need to use it yet, so haven't purchased it. Hello, Bo. Let's see. Brian. Okay, everybody. Okay, just making sure you can hear me. All right, cool. We're good. Man, I had a bad week and put in that used valve body, and it whines now. Oh, man. I doubt the valve body would have an issue with the transmission whine. Are you sure you got all the fluid topped up? Everything's good there? Hello, Trevor. Missed one. Hello, Mr. Subaru. I hear you. Hi from Canada. Hello from South Carolina. Hearing loud and clear. Let's see if we got some questions yet. What's up, brother? Appreciate your valuable information. You are welcome. Just tired. It's been one more week/weekend. Hello, Gaston26. I got a cough drop in right now. I'm trying to pre-game for this so I don't start getting hoarse a little later on in the live stream like I did last week. I'm just not used to talking for so long. Hello, I have a misfiring 2002 WRX. I put new spark plugs and new coil pack, still misfiring on 3 cylinders. Have you done a cylinder leakage test yet? That would be my next step. Being 3 cylinders, I wouldn't probably think of it as a compression issue. You may have a fuel issue, so good to check fuel pressure. And I would ask, when was the last time you replaced your fuel filter and general maintenance items. But fuel filter, if it hadn't been replaced, check fuel pressure and do a cylinder leakage tester, and you should be able to find your issue that's causing your misfire, hopefully. About the cleaner, I'm waiting for my cousin to ship it to Canada. Have you used Milwaukee 3/8 Stubby impact wrench? Is it worth the purchase for home car mechanic? The M12 Stubby impact, is that what you're talking about? I have that gun. I love it. I use it constantly. It is a lifesaver. As I said in the Why I Dump Snap-on Power Tools from Milwaukee video, that gun has become my go-to. I have the mid-torque, quote-unquote mid-torque 3/8. That's 600 foot-pounds. It's nowhere near mid-torque for a 3/8 inch drive fastener. But I rarely have to ever use it. That little Stubby breaks loose basically everything I put on it. If it doesn't, then I usually just grab the 1/2 inch high torque. But yeah, it's an amazing impact. And I think bare tool is only like $149, $169, somewhere in that range. So it is well worth the investment. If you work on your vehicle pretty regularly, it will make your life a lot easier. Oh, we need moderators to delete some of this stuff, guys. If we got any moderators in here, John, if you could take care of some of the spam we're getting here. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to put that on the screen, but it's kind of blocked by my camera as I click comments. Hi from downtown LA. Did plugs and coils on 2012 Forester X Premium. Noticed plugs were dirty. Would that be a bad air intake gasket? Your plugs are going to be dirty normally. It depends on how they look exactly, whether they have a white residue on them, if it's a dark black residue, if they're oily, if they're dry, if they have a gray residue. You can look online really quickly with a Google search. A spark plug color chart, I think, would be the term you'd want to search for, and it will show you basically a list of spark plug conditions that you can match your plugs to see if you have an issue. But I mean, they've been in an internal combustion engine. They've exploded thousands and millions of revolutions of gasoline charges, so they will be dirty to a degree. They don't come out, as clean as you put them in. So it just depends on exactly how dirty, how they looked would be if you have an issue or not. So hard to say without seeing them. Modified 2006 Baja Turbo, 88,000 miles. When should I change the timing belt? You're getting very close to it. Actually, being a 2006, you're past due for it for age. I would go ahead. The recommended interval is 90,000 to 105,000 miles ish. So at 88,000 miles plus the age of the vehicle, I would go ahead and order one as soon as possible and go ahead and replace it. Because again, you do not want it to fail on you. Rarely do I see the belts actually snap. It's normally the components, the idler pulleys that explode. Normally the cogged pulley near the water pump. I don't know why specifically that one blows up, but I've seen so many of those blow up, and usually they just pop the cover off and shoot the ball bearings out. Sometimes they jump timing, sometimes they don't. It's hit or miss. But yeah, I'd definitely go ahead with a 2006 with 88,000 miles and get that timing belt replaced. Sorry guys on the chat, I see it's like hauling over here, and I'm trying to keep pace. I know I got like an hour behind last week, so trying to do a better job of it. I'll try to cut answers short, but I do like to be thorough when I answer somebody's question. In Subaru manuals, they recommend towing the car with front wheels off the ground. If this has to do with the all-wheel drive, can you explain why? I've never seen. They don't recommend that you do. They recommend that you don't tow them with the front wheels off the ground. They have to be towed flat on a rollback. You cannot put them on a wrecker or a tow dolly, unless the only way you can do this is if you take the prop shaft loose from the rear differential. That's the only safe way to tow them front wheels in the air and dragging the rear wheels, is if you disconnect the prop shaft, and then all that's happening is the rear wheels, rear CVs, and the rear differential are spinning, but you have to physically disconnect it, unbolt the prop shaft from the rear differential to do that. You cannot tow them on a traditional wrecker or a tow dolly otherwise. So you might have misread that in the manual, because it does state they have to be flat towed. Hi, Mr. Subaru. Would you mind explaining how the oxygen sensor works and how important or otherwise it is to change if PW30 shows up? Thanks, from Ireland. So basically what the oxygen sensor does in the exhaust stream, you have bank 1 sensors, bank 2 sensors, depending on if you have an H6 or a 4-cylinder. We'll back it up and we'll make it more generic. So you've got a sensor 1 and a sensor 2. Sensor 1 is your pre-cat sensor. Sensor 2 is your post-cat sensor. Sensor 1 is crucial to the running of the vehicle. That is what calculates the air-fuel mixture for the car to run. Sensor 2 is just a check that checks between what sensor 1 reads and sensor 2 reads to test to see if the catalyst is working correctly, if your catalytic converter is working right. So upstream sensors, or sensor 1s, are important. You need to replace them about 100,000 miles or so. Rarely do they actually fail. Most times when you replace a quote-unquote failed oxygen sensor, it's due to the heating element inside failing. We talked about that in last week's live stream. They added heaters to the oxygen sensors because they do not work cold. The faster they get up temperature, the quicker they can work, and the quicker that the PCM can use them to change the air-fuel ratio. So yes, it's important to change them. If you have a lot of mileage on your original sensors, you may pick up a slight amount of fuel economy by changing them out, just because the sensors do get slow and contaminated with age. So yeah, it is pretty important to change them out and keep them in good working condition. Like I said, especially the upstream sensors. Downstream, not so much, unless you live in a state that has emissions testing for catalyst systems and things of that nature. But it won't really affect the way the car runs. Sensor 1's upstream sensors are the ones that are important. I'll triple check fluid. Maybe it wasn't fully level. Could be the case. Oh, chat jumped again. Again, keep screwing up with the getting behind. Can you explain, hang on, having trouble reading. Can you also explain if this has any effect on the ECM turns off the fuel system when going downhill? Jojo, okay, you asked about that. ECM turns off the fuel system when going downhill. Not sure exactly what you're asking on that one. What are your take on Subaru Legacy 3.0R Spec B naturally aspirated? I would love to have one in the U.S., but unfortunately it was not a U.S. market vehicle. I love the 3 liters. I love the 3.6 liters. I love the 3.3 liters. I'm a big H6 guy. Not a lot of Subaru guys are into the H6 engines, but I really like them. And I love the fact that in Australia and New Zealand and Japan, and I think in the UK, you could get a 3 liter with a 6-speed manual. In the US, all H6 equipped vehicles were only automatic, which was boring. Another question, I had a heater hose break. I replaced it, but broke and happened to have miss and match coolant. I mixed blue and greens. Will it last me? Will it hurt the car? If you top up Subaru blue super coolant with the green normal coolant, there is no issue. They are fine to mix. The only issue is you no longer have the high life of the the blue super coolant, which is a 8-year, 80,000 miles. Subaru rates at 10-year, 100,000 miles, but I don't like to leave coolant in that long. I say 8 or 80. So when you add green to the blue super coolant, it then becomes a 3-year, 36,000 mile replacement because you lose the longer service life when you mix them. But other than that, there's no issue. It's not like the old GM Dex Cool when you mix green with it and it would sludge and destroy your engine basically from the inside out. I'm new to the Subaru world, but my clutch pedal keeps squeaks when pressed. How to stop it? I'm assuming, well, no need to assume. There is squeaking issues with all the Subaru clutch pedals. Just check it. Usually there's some white lithium grease on the pivot pin near the spring. Just make sure that's good. I can't remember if there's a bushing in there or not that goes out. I haven't really changed a set of pedals, but a spray of white lithium grease will probably correct your issue. Yes, that Stubby. Yep, it's a great one. Definitely worth getting. I got a 2002 2.5 NT, I guess NA engine that's healthy. Needs to replace the engine on a 2006 2.5 NT. I noticed the heads are different. Can I use the 2.5? Okay. Replacing the engine. You've got a 2002 engine you want to put in a 2006 car. You cannot directly replace it because the 2006 has the active valve lift system on it, which is the extra oil control solenoid you're seeing on the heads. What you can do is take the short block from the 2002, pull the 2002 single overhead cam heads off, and put the 2006 heads on it. That's the only way to change that. You can't change it otherwise. You'll have check engine light and all kind of issues with not putting an AVCLS head engine in that car. 2006 heads. Thank you, John, for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Keep on building. Don't stop and still be finished. One room 6 years later like me. That basically feels like my progress right now on the 2 houses. Like I said before, I was at a point where I was going to get back to work on renovating my 2 houses that are on my second YouTube channel, but with the price of lumber doubling and a little bit over doubling, I'm holding off until lumber prices and building prices come back into the realm of freezing. Sorry, guys, again, I'm trying to keep up, but I always bog myself down. Advice, 216,000 miles on EJ25, slight knock. Needs the heads done. Go for the heads or source a new engine. It drives and drive as is while I can. I would drive as is as it can and source an engine. There's no point in doing a head gasket replacement on an engine that has a bad bottom end that's starting to knock. I drive a 2000 JDM Legacy Touring Wagon GTB E-Tune 5-speed with the EJ209 twin turbo in Canada. I'm envious. I'm jealous. I wish I had one. I want to replace my time belt. Do you recommend Gates kit? I do not recommend any Gates kits anymore because their components are made in China. They have Chinese water pumps, Chinese tensioners, and Chinese bearings. That is a no-go. I always recommend that everyone get an ASIN kit. I put them in my links on my YouTube, on my Amazon store. I cannot talk tonight, guys. Getting all flustered. But the Asen kits are great. They have all genuine Subaru components in them for about half the price. If not, you can buy the kits or the individual components from your Subaru dealership, but always make sure you get Japanese bearings. The Chinese ones do not last. You don't want to risk your timing set failing on you and destroying your engine. It's not worth the extra savings you get in buying the cheaper kits than spending the money on kits that have the genuine article in them. Is the Subaru manual transmission a reliable system? Not something you can blanket statement, but yes, I've seen plenty of manual transmissions when properly cared for, as in, not grinding gears, not, racing it, not launching it, changing your gear oil on time. They have minimal problems. So no real issues with them on the 5-speed or 6-speed. Hey, Mr. Subaru, I was looking into a mini ductor to heat up the 2000 RS rear subframe bolts. I think it would heat the bolts enough to remove with no issue. Depending on your level of rust, I would say they would definitely help. I'm not going to guarantee you that they would take them out with no issues whatsoever, but definitely always helpful with rusty stuff. Those inductive heaters are great. Did plugs and coils, 2000 Forester dirty. Okay, we already answered that one. Have you seen the K-swapped STI on boosted boys? I have not, but Honda engine in a Subaru. No, thank you. I'll do an LS swap because I was an LS guy, but no. What's your thoughts on the new Crosstrek 2.5? Have not even seen one. I had no issues with the 2-liter in my Crosstrek with the CVT. Yeah, it is kind of puny, but it's a commuter car. It's not a race car. If I took it off-road, maybe there would be an issue, but I've had no issues with my 2-liter. So, having a little more power and a bigger engine, the 2.5, it's a tested engine at this point. The 2.5 has been around since 2011, 2012, depending on if it was in the Forester, Outback. So, nothing really to worry about. It is the newer FB25D, so it is the direct fuel injection engine. But so is basically all of them are now direct fuel injection, so you still got to worry about the valve carboning issues. Dark oily dark and oily. I would try to get a mirror and a flashlight down there and shine in the spark plug wells. Oh, no, it's a Forester X, so it's a 2.5. So your spark plug, I'd shine the spark plug down in there. Make sure the spark plug tube seals aren't leaking oil down onto the spark plugs. That could possibly be your issue. If not, for them to be oily, you probably have some oils getting in the combustion chamber, which would be intake valve seals leaking. But if it was that bad to make the plugs oily, you most likely would be getting oil smoke out the tailpipe. So I would wager on it being the spark plug tube seals leaking oil down into there. When you pulled it out, it got the oil on it. Hi from Auckland, New Zealand. Keep up the great work. Thanks. Thank you, Andrew. The key on my 2005 Forester JDM is giving me a hard time to turn fully in the barrel. What's the best way to replace the key? So I have only one. There's another key slot on the driver's door. Have you tried the graphite that you put on keys, run it back and forth in the cylinder, see if that frees it up? It could just be sticky in there. So there is like you can go to like anywhere that sells or cuts keys normally. It's a little tiny tube of like powdered graphite, and you use that as a lubricant for keys and lock cylinders. Try that out first before going and replacing the whole lock cylinder assembly. Thoughts on lift kits and which would you recommend? I can't personally recommend any of them because I haven't installed any of them or owned any of them. LP Adventures, I follow them on Instagram. They've got quite a few posts of their, I think they got an Outback, Forester, Crosstrek lift. I'm not sure what else. I think they've got a lift now for the Ascent, and not sure what else, but their kit looks pretty nice. Most of the kits are basically just strut spacers. I'm not sure if anyone's really making a full bolt-on kit with like longer lateral links and control arms yet. But anytime you lift a vehicle, you always come into the issues with getting your alignment right, tire wear, putting the CVs in the prop shaft at a more steep angle and going through axles much quicker. I've never seen the need to lift one, but I don't off-road and stuff like that. So, it is what it is. Like I said, I can't recommend one over the other because I don't personally have hands-on experience with installing or owning a vehicle that had them installed on it. Flatbed towing, yep. Shoot, chat jumped again on me. Let's see if we can get caught back up where I was. Sorry, guys, I know I'm getting way behind here. Let's see. I'm about 20 minutes behind. Why don't they fix the STI Brembo bracket bolts from snapping off? I haven't seen any personally snap off. I've seen where they kind of galled up the threads. If I remember right, it's the issue of the bolt being steel and the caliper, the bracket ear part, I think it's aluminum or magnesium or something like that, and it's a softer metal, so they kind of seize together, and then when you unbolt them, it has tendency to pull threads out. So it's just the issue of dissimilar metals. Some anti-seize would probably help the issue out, but other than that, there's not really much you can do when you're using steel fasteners to fasten them to the car. My Subaru Legacy 3.0R is about 192,000 miles. Haven't done any major changes on it yet. I know it's soon time for some vital changes. What do you recommend? I mean, if it is a manual transmission, I'd go ahead and change the transmission fluid, gear oil if you haven't, rear diff gear oil, your coolant. I mean, it's normal maintenance stuff. There's nothing really you have to do to the engine other than oil changes, coolant replacement, things of that nature. The 3.0s and 3.6s, there's no set interval for timing chain replacement. It's a kind of address it as you have an issue with it. So, if you start getting a rattle from the chain or some kind of issue like that, then you go in and change tensioners or the chain guide, stuff like that. But it's not really any set thing other than your normal replace your spark plugs on time, your fuel filters, and your fluids. So nothing really out of that ordinary. Hey, Mr. Subaru from Tennessee, how would you do a compression test on an EJ253? Car will try to overheat after driving for a while, but will not overheat when idling. Bubbles in coolant when hot. I wouldn't worry with a compression test. Seems you need to do a cylinder leakage test, but with that issue of it overheating and it bubbling in the radiator, I can probably go ahead and tell you you're going to need a head gasket replacement pretty soon. But to confirm, I do the cylinder leakage test. Can you say if the ACEN water pump timing kit for the 2005 Usdm Forester will fit the JDM version? For the 2-liter engine NA, I'm assuming? Or are you talking about turbo engine here? I'm pretty sure that the timing sets for all the turbo engines, dual overhead cam, are the same. EJ series, single overhead cam. The only differences really are with the water pump. Depending on the water outlet, some of the water pumps put the thermostat facing the radiator. Some of them put the thermostat facing down. Some of them have one pipe on the left side. Some have 2 pipes on the left side. Some have one on either side if it has an oil cooler. So usually the water pump is the determining factor. They usually all have the same timing belt and tensioner and idlers. Good evening, Mr. Subaru. What is the oldest car you've worked on, and what were you fixing? Oldest car I've worked on. I guess technically it'd be my grandfather's 1950 Ford F1 pickup. Although I haven't really worked on it, I've messed around with it. As far as worked on to fix, my 72 Nova, my dad's 66 Plymouth Satellite, one of those, or my brother's 67 Mustang. I mean, not terribly old, but 1950s, 1960s probably be the oldest. Nothing particularly jumping out at me that I can recall actually fixing, other than like some wiring issues and tune-ups, things of that nature. No like die-hard, inside the engine kind of fixes yet. Similar question, 2015 Forester, 60,000 miles. Do I really need to replace them? Anything else I need to look for? Thanks. Replace what? I guess spark plugs. I think 60 is the interval for those. So, it's preventative maintenance for a reason. You replace it quickly ahead of time, so to prevent breakdowns and issues later. Could you go to 100,000 miles on the spark plugs? I'm sure you probably could, but I like to be ahead of the curve and better safe than sorry kind of thing. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Mr. Subaru, just wanted to say your videos helped me to swap the motor out of my WRX for a new one. It has an NVIDIA exhaust up pipe and is tuned. Any recommendations to help keep it reliable? Other than your normal maintenance items, things of that nature, and don't go out and beat the crap out of it, take it to the drag strip, launch it 5,000 RPM, stuff like that is normally detrimental to their health. So, aside from that, keep on your regular maintenance and things, and it should be good. So changing the fluid in your CVT, I can imagine it's a bad idea at 100,000 miles normal use if you want to run the car until it falls apart. Am I wrong? No, I'd go ahead and replace it at 100,000 miles if it hadn't been replaced. That's not too far gone to negate replacing it yet. I just changed mine on my Crosstrek at 210,000 miles. I assume it hadn't been replaced until the valve body was replaced at 171,000 miles. So, I haven't had any issues with it since I replaced it, and that was 2,000 or 3,000 miles ago. So, it is different on the CVTs compared to a conventional automatic transmission, but we maybe will touch on that in another video. I think I've touched on that in some other CVT videos. Subaru sells the most cars in the States with the average high elevation above 9,400 feet above sea level. Why hasn't Subaru used turbocharged engines to help with power loss and higher elevations? You got me. I don't know what the deal is with them turning their back on turbocharged engines. GM and Ford and a lot of the other manufacturers have gone to turbochargers for more fuel economy and more power, but using smaller displacement engines. I don't know what Subaru's deal is. I think Subaru at this point is kind of just going to run out the F-Series engines until they swap to EVs. I doubt they're going to come out with another new series of Boxer engine. I may be wrong, but it's all speculation. I don't use Subaru brand coolant. It was awful. Yeah, you don't have to specifically use Subaru super coolant. What's the company that makes the God, it's escaping me. Pentafrost. Pentafrost, I think, is a company. I think it's Pentafrost A3 is the blue Subaru super coolant. I've used both. It's not that critical to use Subaru branded. Hi, Mr. Subaru, 2011 Impreza with 50,000 miles and manual transmission. With this mileage, how does it change? I get too far ahead of myself reading. How does it change the brake, diff, transmission, clutch, rad fluid replacement schedule for the manual? Thanks from Canada. Basically, all the fluids should be on the same set interval other than the transmission gear oil, which should still be about 36,000 miles. Some people tell me that's, excessive to replace it every 3 years, 36,000 miles for the manual transmission, but that's what Subaru's old maintenance schedule used to be. I have no idea off the top of my head what the new one is. I think it's 50 or 60,000 miles, but, 3.5, 4 quarts of gear oil is not that expensive. It's 20, 30 bucks at the high end. And the service takes all of half hour. So again, preventative maintenance, I'd rather spend the small money up front to avoid spending the big money down the road kind of thing. Thoughts on the FA20, FA24 and Subaru e-Boxer. I haven't really had any. I haven't even seen the e-Boxer in person yet. I don't even know if that's in U.S. market. I know that overseas they had it in the Forester. I'm kind of behind on the new stuff as far as the FA series, FB series engines. They've basically been around for almost a decade at this point. I mean, they have changed them. The FA24 is only 2 years old at this point. Time will tell. They've been having some issues with the things leaking oil. There are so many places that are sealed with RTV now. It's kind of ridiculous, and they are all computer injected onto the engine. I'm a member on a Facebook group that's all for Subaru technicians, and I've seen a couple of them that have had issues on pretty brand new cars, coming up with oil leaks due to the robotic arm that applies to like the timing cover or whatever in the engine assembly factory, skipping an area and causing a massive oil leak because there's no sealant. My 2008 Subaru Legacy 2.5 GT has a small tick. Tick speeds up with RPMs as RPMs do. I was told it was a lifter tick and it's just injectors. It hasn't given me any problems at all after about 8,000 miles. Could be. The lifters do tick. They're electronic solenoids. Only way to pinpoint it would be with a mechanic stethoscope. Although, if it's not a knocking noise, I wasn't really worried about it. I mean, these engines do have some ticking and noise to them that other engines don't. But, without hearing it, I can't really tell you if it's something to worry about or not. So, let's see. We got some super chats real quick, guys, to go over. Let's see. Where are they at? Let's see. John. Hey, Robert, what are some common reasons oil would be found on top of the block? Thanks for the $5 super chat there, John. Oil on top of the block. Other than like the PCV system leaking oil out, most of the time when I see oil fluid on top of the engine block on the EJs, it's normally the power steering pump leaking old power steering fluid around the power steering pump and alternator. But rarely you can have an issue with the oil pressure sensor that is underneath the alternator slightly to the right. They can sometimes leak oil on top of the engine, and rarely you can see issues with the head gaskets leaking oil on top of the engine. But other than that, there's not really any other way for oil to get on top of the engine other than in the case of on the EJs doing an oil change, someone missing the funnel and it running down the rocker covers onto the block, and it just not being seen till later on. Where's that other super chat? And we'll get back to the list. 2003 Outback Bean. On the freeway, step on the gas, RPMs come up, but there is a delay before the downshift. Then it kicks hard. Fluid full looks clean. Is the fluid burnt at all? When was the last time the transmission was serviced? Other than that, what was the mileage on the car? I mean, it may be the transmission is getting weak, old, sluggish. I mean, as items wear, the seals and stuff do not hold the pressure quite as well. So it could be having issues there. So a little more information, mileage, and, if there's a burnt smell to the transmission fluid, stuff like that would help a little bit more in that. Let's see if we can scroll back up here and catch where we were at. Under 4 people viewing with only 6 thumbs up. All right, guys, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. I'm not just sitting here like a monkey on the screen talking to all y'all. You are welcome. Hey. What made you want to work on car or Subarus? Are you glad with your decision or wish you could choose a different path? Not exactly. Well, longer story. Got into cars because my dad was a mechanic, and he kind of got me into cars. Was a big GM guy, as I've said many times before. Really didn't care about import vehicles. I was all Camaro, Trans Am, Corvette, GTOs, all muscle car kind of thing. And my buddy Hans, he bought one of the very first STIs in the United States. I think he had like the second or third on the East Coast. I'd never even really heard of Subaru because they didn't advertise here in the Southeast at that point. It was a northern thing. They were still a smaller company. So I really didn't even know about Subaru. And we used to do some illegal activities in our cars late at night when we were younger. out on some back roads, and he ran my Z28, and I was surprised how well he kept up with me. He didn't outrun me, but he kept up really well with me in his STI. It was bone stock, off the factory floor. And later on down the line, his brother Danny ended up getting a modified 2002 or 2003. It was a Bug Eye WRX, and it had a lot more power than his brother's STI. And after riding that thing, I was amazed how much power a 2-liter made, and it kind of snowballed from there. But Hunt and Danny both got me into Subarus. The cars, after working on the first couple I bought myself and seeing how easy they were to work on and how everything was basically the same across all of them, that basically sealed the deal, and it was a gung-ho super Subaru guy. So that's basically the short version. Subaru is one of the few manufacturers with no dedicated electric vehicle in their lineup, although they have committed to having one in a few years. What's your take on electric and Tesla's $25,000 car? Tesla's $25,000 car? $25,000 car? You're talking about the model, what is it, Model C? I don't keep up a ton with Tesla. They got the Model S and the Model X, I think, is the SUV. I think the C is supposed to be the new, smaller, cheaper car, but I thought it was like $30,000, $35,000. I guess if you strip it out, it's 25. At this point, EVs are the future. There's not really a long-term outlook for ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles. It's just a matter of time before EVs take over. Battery technology is exploding. Mileage and brain fart. Range on them are getting bigger and bigger and further out every single year that passes. I'm sure that Subaru is going to use their partnership with Toyota. They're being owned 17% by Toyota. I'm sure they're going to use them for their hybrid technology, and assuming their EV technology when they get more into that. But other than that, I can't really speculate on the future. Like I said, it's probably that it's going to come sooner than later, and I'm sure Toyota will be helping them quite a bit on that. You're welcome. What's your process for periodically inspecting brake pad thickness? Any method or tools for doing so without removing the caliper from the support bracket? There are tools. I can't remember who makes them. I know the Matco truck has them, but I know it's rebrand from Matco. I don't remember what company makes it. But they do have a brake thickness gauge that you can slide in with the wheel on the car and measure the pad thickness. I'll try to look online and find it and throw it in the Amazon store. But you can check them without doing anything to the car. You just stick it in between the spokes, hook on the pad, and it can measure it. I'm currently swapping a 2001 Forester 444 transmission into a 95 Impreza, and some of the wiring doesn't match up. Any tips? Well, yeah, that's going to be an issue there. The 2001 should be a Gen 2 480, and the 95 should have had a Gen 1, if I remember right. And there's several, there might be more than 2 generations of 480. I can't remember right now, but it's on, I think Naziak had a big write-up on doing 444 swaps. I know SVX, God, what's the SVX forum? They had a write-up on doing a 440 swap in the SVX, and it would be kind of the same being a 95 Impreza. The SVXs were 92 to 96. So I know there's some wiring involved in changing it over, but not exactly sure what. I've not personally done the swap yet. Thinking about doing it on my SVX if I don't go manual, but there are forums out there that could help more than I could right now. Does he answer questions just through the live chat? Yes, I do, if I can get to you. A lot of info on used Subarus. Are any of the new Subarus promising? As they get old and get to me, I'm sure I can make more content on them, but the newer stuff just isn't to the price point where I can see buying it. I mean, the 2013 Crosstrek and my brother's 2011 Outback, those are about the newest ones we've got, and now they're nearly a decade old. So I don't have a ton of knowledge on the new stuff just because I'm not in a dealership and not working on it every day. But like I said before, I'm on the Facebook forum for the dealer technicians, Subaru dealer technicians. So I do see from them in their post what kind of issues they're coming across, what kind of issues they're seeing. So, they're not really any worse or better than the old ones mechanically. I mean, they're not having the head gasket issues they had. But it's always a trade-off. Every vehicle has issues. There's technicians for every make and model. So, you got to weigh what you're willing to live with, I guess, at the end of the day. But I don't have a ton of information on the newer stuff to give you guys right this minute. I'm late not getting notifications. Sorry about that. I don't know why YouTube does that for some reason. I don't know. I think you got to ring the bell now or whatever on the bottom. You can't just be subscribed. YouTube makes it so difficult for content creators to get stuff out to their audience. I just purchased a 2000 Legacy Outback and need to replace the trunk latch. I've looked around quite a bit for DIY. I haven't found any information. Do you know if this is something that's doable on mine? Should be, if I recall correctly, it shouldn't be, but like 212 or 214 millimeter bolts and a cable. Pretty straightforward. First, thanks for doing your channel. You've inspired me and taught me so much. I've got an FB20 Forester JDM. Keep getting what feels like misfire, but no codes, especially when the AC is on. What would be the mileage on it? Service history, things of that nature. If you check the normal stuff, not fuel filter on that one because it's in the tank, but like air filter and spark plugs, things of that nature. Also, throttle body, make sure it's not crudded up. Make sure the idle relearn is done after cleaning it if it needs cleaning. That could be the issue that's idling low, and the AC compressor is keeping it from kicking the RPM up enough to keep it from not wanting to run rough. Will you be working on your black Outback suspension soon? And will you post any videos on the LL Bean? Yeah, I'm probably going to start ordering the suspension components for it and a new set of tires, and I'll make some videos on that soon. Still waiting on the parts from the sandbar. If you saw the community post the other day, I got all the parts in on Wednesday. Sorry, I know y'all can get on me for my lazy southern tongue, but sent me the wrong stuff. Big issue. 2 months of waiting for the parts. I was so disgusted. Talked to them, and supposedly they're going to send me the correct Subaru factory parts with a shipping label to send them back the off-brand stuff they sent me. So hopefully that's cleared up within the next 2 weeks, I think is what they gave me the window for, to get the parts in to them and then send them to me from Canada. What's up, Joshua? Hey, Mr. Subaru, I have a 2017 WRX 60,000 miles. The OEM clutch started to slip. I installed aftermarket heavy-duty clutch. Do you have any tips for adjusting the clutch pedal? Clutch pedal is non-adjustable because it is a hydraulic clutch. So the engagement point is where it's going to be. There's not really any adjustment in those. The adjustment really went away with the old cable clutches, and that went away back in the mid-90s. What do I think about Icon? It is overpriced Taiwanese/Chinese tools. It's, Harbor Freight wanted to lie and said they were tool truck quality and they were toe-in-toe with Snap-on and yada, yada, yada. But they're trying to get tool truck prices for Amazon quality Taiwanese tools. I mean, the tools are decent, but as you saw in just 2 to 3 months of me using them, the sockets were starting to round out. They're soft. The wrenches did not hold up really well to professional use. For DIY use, they'd probably be okay. The issue with Icon is, will it be around in another 2 years, 5 years? Probably not. Harbor Freight will probably move on to some other gimmicky brand to come out with, replace it with. Will they continue to warranty it? Who knows? Is it worth the price to pay? I wouldn't. I gave everything I bought away or returned it. I would put the money towards a gear wrench set or something like that. A well-established company that's been around, gear wrench made in Taiwan. It's basically the same stuff as the Icon stuff. But, gear wrench is going to be around when Harbor Freight could drop Icon's name in another year or two. So How's the sandbar? It is doing well, just waiting on the parts so we can get it up to speed. You're welcome. Asked about the Crosstrek 2.5. Are the new motors 2 liters and 2.5 good motors or junk? The engine, the 2 liter and the 2.5 is the same F series engine it has been. They've just now put direct fuel injection on them, so you got to worry about valve carburing issues like any other DI system. Other than that, they haven't really seen any major issues with them other than quality control kind of things. Brand spanking new, but they warranty that stuff. And then there was the issue with the valve springs, but they've recalled those. So other than that, not really any other issues to worry about on them. My FA20 DIT just crapped out. Car has 41,000 miles with full bolt-ons, tight maintenance schedule, daily driven, cylinder 1 compression at 95, and experience with these engines crapping out this early. Full bolt-ons would be my reasoning. I'm assuming, did you tune it for your bolt-ons? Anything you do to a WRX STI has to be tuned for. There's nothing you can do, intake, exhaust, whatever, that doesn't require a tune. So without seeing what's done to it, how it was driven, that's another big thing. I can't speculate on anything. I assume that Subaru's covering this under warranty. No, yes, not sure. With the way Subaru is now, they probably goodwill it. I don't know. They're bending over backwards to warranty stuff that a lot of it they don't need to. Not saying that's the case with yours, but it's modified, so technically your warranty is voided. But Subaru has been looking the other way. There's been plenty of STIs and stuff coming through with tons of modifications on them. Subaru still puts an engine in them for customer satisfaction because they don't want to get sued again from people blowing up their cars and going after them. Do you think it would be fine to use an impact to remove the rear subframe bolts on the 2000 RS? Surface rust and have been sprayed. PB blaster on the bolts daily just in case. Only one way to find out. They're either going to come off or they're going to break. I don't have the magic crystal ball to tell you, if they're going to break or not. So, I would probably go at them with a 1/2-inch ratchet breaker bar or something first and try to work them slowly back and forth rather than just going and give them the beans right out with an impact. But, sometimes you can work them back and forth slow like that and still break them off. So, it's hard to say. Got a Subaru Tribeca 2006. Makes humming noise when accelerating. Sometimes you can hear it going up hills. Radio on or off could be feedback from the alternator. Do you happen to have any idea where you think it's coming from? The car, front, back, things of that nature? Kind of hard to diagnose sounds over the internet without being in person with the vehicle. But a humming noise, it could be several different things. Hard to say without hearing it. Buying Subaru parts online nationwide. Recommendations, please. New Zealand. I have a 2001 3-liter Lancaster. Ooh, I don't know who to recommend you use in New Zealand. I use my local Subaru dealership. I use SubaruParts.com, Subaru Parts Discount, something like that. Another one. Sorry, guys, we got to really quickly. There's 2 super chats I need to look at, and we will try to get back to where we were. We've got, hey, Mr. Subaru, just bought my first 2.5 5-speed wagon with leak head. 196,000. Thinking or DIY following your video or buy an engine with 60,000. Any recommendations? Depending on the cost of the engine with 60,000 miles, it might be worth it to replace the engine. Depending on how long the head gaskets have been leaking for, if there's any mechanicals, and it's hard to say. That 60,000 mile engine is going to have its head gasket replaced too, so you got to worry about that later down the road. So if you get the engine cheap enough and it's in good condition, I would probably go ahead and put the engine in. But just know that you're going to have to replace those head gaskets. Pretty. Actually, I'd replace the head gaskets on the 60,000 mile engine before I put it in there. Just go ahead and put the MLS turbo gaskets on it and not worry about it, rather than installing it in 20, 30,000 miles or whenever they fail because of the age of it, not necessarily the mileage of it. Thank you for the $5. Real quick, we got another one. I think I saw CP. Yep, CP the Tool Addict. Thank you, man, for the $5. Appreciate it. Keep it the great work. Love to support great channels. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Let's see if we can get back to where I left off with people's questions. I can't remember exactly where we're at. I think I saw my uncle owned a junkyard and was... My uncle owned a junkyard. That was my first cars. Gotcha. Lots of fun out there playing, tearing stuff apart, I reckon. 2009 WRX 100,000 miles. And what's the next major preventative repair turbo? I'm assuming you've already done the timing belt. So I would go ahead and replace the turbo banjo bolt. I can't remember if in 2009 they were still an issue, if they still have those little inline filters that would tear up that turbocharger, but in 2009 should be an EJ255. So I definitely look at the oil feed to the turbocharger, because likely 120 to 150,000 miles is usually when the EJ255 has turbocharger issues. $25,000. I'm not sure what that was about. Yes, spark plugs. Fun fact about Subaru. Subaru used to be Nakajima Aircraft Company and made planes such as Kate, Jill, and Oscar during World War II. Yeah, I do remember Subaru having ties to the war effort and doing airplanes, kind of like BMW did. I know that the Subaru emblem, the 6 stars, is supposed to be a constellation with 6 sisters. I can't remember the names of it all. Sorry, I'm not up on my Subaru history that well. But I can't remember if those names correlate to the stars in the constellation or not. Probably not. Yeah, spark plugs again. I was watching a video on choosing mini trucks and saw the Sandbar is the only with a 4. Yeah, most of them have 3-cylinder engines. Sandbar, I mean, they're all basically 660 cc. That's like the cap. I think the Sandbar is technically like 630 cc or something. I read it off the other day on the video. Yeah, but the Honda Acti, the Mazda Scrum, the Suzuki Carry, the Daihatsu Hijet, I'm pretty sure all of those are 3-cylinder engines. I still miss owning a Subaru and wish I could have exported my 2013 Impreza to where I live now, outside of the United States. That would be miserable, living somewhere you couldn't get at your Subaru. Hello all, I have a 2005 Forester, a 2001 Outback. Did the head gasket thing on the Outback a few years back. All good. The Forester's okay after a couple of fuel pumps. Good to hear. Should I keep my 2002 Bug-Eye and fix the rust, or buy a new WRX? Depends on how severe your rust is and if it is actually fixable. And depending on if you can afford financially payments on a new car and insurance and all that. I mean, it depends on your individual situation. I can't really recommend anything financially for anyone else. 2010 Outback with 250,000 miles. My brake pedal is starting to get a bit soft. No leak. Should I look at master cylinder? Fluid is full. Most likely, easiest way to check would be to take the master cylinder loose at the brake booster, pull it forward, and see if you've got any leaking brake fluid from the rod. It doesn't necessarily have to be bleeding externally to be getting weak, but that would probably be the first thing I would look at, would be the master cylinder. Or the brake booster. I doubt the brake booster is an issue. Really easy to check that with the engine off. Pump the brake pedal up till it gets hard, to push the brake, put force on the brake pedal, hold it down, start the engine, and your brake pedal should slowly come down as engine vacuum pulls on the brake booster. Those under seat engine location mini trucks didn't seem comfortable. Yeah, that was another thing that was cool about the Sandbar, being that the engine was offset to the back. One gave you better weight distribution. The engine's at the back, you and your passengers at the front, so it kind of makes it more stable. Plus the engine, that was another thing that was kind of a con, in my opinion, is the engine's way back there. So when you're driving, if you have a noise in the engine or an issue, you're not going to hear it really well because it's way behind you instead of underneath you. So I like it and I don't like it. Uh-oh, what do we hit? I just described as I just got a 2007 Forester with 209,000 miles for $700. Owner said it might need head gasket, might have head gasket leak, but all I could see was leaking radiator. Any way to confirm head gasket leak before tearing down the engine? Absolutely. A block test, the color liquid that you put in blue, you put it on the radiator neck, take some coolant out, let the engine get up to temperature, thermostat open, put it on there, squeeze the little bulb, it'll pull the air out of the radiator. If there's any hydrocarbons in there, exhaust from a leaking head gasket, it'll turn the fluid from blue to yellow. Cylinder leakage tester is the easiest, quickest way to find out. Bring each cylinder up on top dead center, take the spark plug out, put the cylinder leakage tester in there, inject, 100 psi of shop air, and check the leakage. Again. So definitely there is some easy ways to check it. Being a 2007, most likely you're going to have issues with external leaks. That's where they usually fail. So get under the car and look between the engine block and the cylinder head. Look for oil, coolant, crud buildup on that parting line between the head and the block on either side of the oil pan. 2003 Impreza wagon has bang, jump, take off, straight drive. Has bang, jump. Check transmission mount. Check the pitch stopper or the dog bone back there between the transmission and the firewall. Check the prop shaft. Make sure that the carrier bearing isn't like all wallered out. Check rear diff bushings. That would be my first recommendation of things to look for. Thank you, much appreciated. You are welcome. Any ideas? I guess I missed your question, or we already answered it. Regarding Subaru leveraging their relationship with Toyota for EVs, Toyota and the Japanese government seem all in on hydrogen. Think it's wise for Subaru to commit to hydrogen. Subaru is still small. I think that Toyota has quite a bit of hydrogen going on right now. I know that Hyundai has some hydrogen vehicles. I think Nissan does too. Hydrogen would probably be the next step, but that always raises issues with finding hydrogen filling stations, the big pressurized hydrogen tank, people's adoption of hydrogen vehicles seems to be an uphill battle because they're always worried about the hydrogen tank exploding. They think about the Hindenburg, things of that nature, even though gasoline is almost as bad. So I don't know if they should try hydrogen before they go EV or just go EV. You know if they're going to make a Forester STI. They made a Forester STI for years in Japan. We'll probably never see one in the US, though. We don't even get a turbo Forester anymore, or a manual transmission in the Forester anymore. You taking on new customers? I'm up the road over in North Carolina. I want to get away from dealers. Thanks. As I'm working at the farm right now, I'm not taking in anyone just because I would rather get my shop built. I'm still working on previous customers' cars, but limited to when I had the shop, just because I hate working out in the elements. I hate the unprofessional look it gives the people that roll up and leave their car in my gravel driveway at the farm for me to work on. I mean, you guys and my customers in the past, they know what kind of work I do, but you know, I'd rather have the shop built, and plus the liability of worry about, you know, if something happens to the customer's car, I'd rather have it in a shop that's insured than out in the yard, you know, things of that nature. So I really wanted to have the shop built already. It should have been done by now if 2020 hadn't gone the way it was going to go. Plan was that by October, November, the shop would be built and completed. But as we know, 2020 has been a show. So, yeah, I have no idea when I'll get the shop built or when I can start taking on customers. My bank account would really love to start taking on customers, that's for sure. But I just really got to wait till I get the shop done. And finding a contractor to come out right now is impossible. And the fact that all building supplies are basically double what they were 2 months ago is another big issue. So kind of a hurry up and wait thing as usual. Gurgling, clicking behind the dash, 2011 Legacy, about 5,000 miles ago. The wife Said the AC wasn't cooling. Noticed coolant was low. Topped it off. Seemed to be fine. Hear gurgling. I'm assuming you're hearing gurgling like after you stop the car, put it in park, turn the engine off, and you're sitting in the car, you'll hear gurgling. Normally that's air trapped in the heater core, so you might want to go ahead and bleed your cooling system. Likely there's air trapped in the heater core. My wife said the AC wasn't working. As far as the air condition, it's probably unrelated to the gurgling you're hearing. The gurgling is most likely air trapped in the heater core. Do I have to do spark plugs for FRS BRZ at 60,000 miles? I'm not sure because I haven't really worked on any FRS BRZ GT86s. I'm not sure if they run a 60,000 mile plug or a 100,000 mile plug, but most newer Subarus seem to be 60,000 miles, so I would wager 60,000 miles. I believe Subaru.com, you can look up the service schedules, intervals, maintenance schedules on your vehicle on the website. But I can't remember. I know you can pull your owner's manual up. I don't remember if it's I think most of the maintenance schedules are there too, though. Anything I should look out for on a used Crosstrek? Service history is always a good thing if it's a dealer and they can provide you history, what's been done to it. If it's an individual, if they're the single owner, that's always great as long as they're honest with you. Other than the normal things to check, that the tires are all matching, that they're not excessively worn, that you're not hearing any noises or sounds when driving it, that it's not overheating, things of that nature. There's no check engine light on, nothing really above and beyond on a Crosstrek to check other than any other used car, any other Subaru. Sounds like a blend door. Sometimes they click. Normally it's a clicking sound. Normally gurgling is air in the heater core. Hey, Tool Truck rebrands. Nice to have you here. I'd say if you want a Forester STI, get one of the JDM ones that exist already because you won't see new ones again. Yep, that's basically what I said. What do you think about the Subaru Baja, the Ultimate NA head gasket blower? They didn't blow any head gaskets any more than any of the other NA 2.5, EJ 251, 252, 253 cars. The Bajas are neat. Would I have one? No, because they're horribly impractical. I'd rather have my Outback where I can fold down the back seat and have tons of cargo area rather than having a tiny little truck bed that everything's out in the open, or a back seat that, when you fold it down, I think there's 2 doors to get into the bed. But yeah, the Baja is just impractical. That's why it didn't sell. It's cool, but day-to-day living with it is meh, in my opinion. Hello, are you in the South? If you hadn't figured that out yet, but yeah, I'm in South Carolina. 2005 Outback 3.4. I'm thinking of GM stuff now. 3-liter. Came back with code 2138 last year. Kept going in limp mode. I thought it was connection problem that I had fixed, but it came back tonight. 2138. Mine's drawing a blank. P2138. Throttle pedal position, sensor switch, DE, voltage correlation. So probably issue with either the gas pedal or electronic throttle body. What exactly, I can't say. I don't have the service manual with the flowchart in front of me, but one of the two. What connection were they fixing? Was it at the throttle body, at the throttle pedal? Guys, we got a super chat real quick somewhere to look at. Holy cow, $50. Thank you, Anthony. I greatly appreciate that, man. Greetings from Raleigh. Good luck with those sandbar parts, my dude. Get yourself some liquor. I had a feeling you'll need a few drinks while you wait. Something to coral my blood pressure, that was for sure, because it was definitely high Thursday when I called Right Drive Auto in Canada, and it took everything I could to not explode on the phone because I was so mad after 2 months of waiting and getting the wrong stuff. So yeah, man, I greatly appreciate that. That'll definitely go towards offsetting the cost of those parts, and hopefully I can get them very soon and get to work on some more sandbar videos. Let's get back to where we were, close to where we were. Sorry, guys, I know I'm getting way behind again. Seems to happen. Let's see, 2005 Outback forgot to put the front-wheel drive fuse in till after I drove on the donut for a bit. Put it in once I learned, but when removed, it still now is stuck in front-wheel drive while the all-wheel drive light is on. Any ideas? Did you have the donut on the front or the back? Because you have to rotate the donut to the rear and then put the front-wheel drive fuse in, because it disconnects the rear axle. It just turns the, I can't remember if it turns it on or turns it off, the transfer clutch solenoid there in the tail housing that puts the power to the prop shaft in the rear axle. The fact that it's stuck in front-wheel drive after you remove the fuse is odd. Have you tried disconnecting the battery and reconnecting it? That might help. I haven't really seen that issue. Normally, as soon as you pull the fuse, it instantaneously goes back the way it was. I look forward to a sandbar maintenance video. The Acti timing belt video I saw used professional judgment on tensioner adjustment. Yeah, as far as the tensioner on those, are just spring tensioners. I need to order a tensioner. All I've got ordered so far is a water pump, thermostat, timing belt, plugs, wires, distributor cap, and rotor button. So I definitely need a cam seal, crank seal. Having a little bit of issue finding those. I'd like a new tensioner, the tensioner spring and tensioner bolt. So I'm having more issue than I thought I would with getting genuine parts. I can get aftermarket parts pretty easily, but I don't like doing anything that's not Subaru original, as most of you all know. Especially with the fact that at like 60 mile an hour, that engine's turning like 6,000, 6,500 RPM, which seems high, but I think they redline at like 8,500. But that's basically maxed out in fifth gear. They're not geared for highway speed, but they'll do it. And the fact that it's spinning that kind of RPM for that kind of time, I really want to make sure that that time belt tensioner pulley bearing, not pulley, that bearing is, you know, fresh and Japanese original quality. I don't want it exploding and throwing the time belt off at 6,000 RPM. Do you have updates on the new building? We went over that a little bit ago, so I'm still behind. Thanks a lot. You're welcome. I have a certified used 2018 Outback. Should I have a CVT transmission fluid changed at 35,000 miles? 30,000, 60,000, 90,000, basically pick your poison on it. I would have it changed at some point before 100,000 miles, but when isn't technically that crucial. 50 is a good number. 40 is a good number. You know, something simple to keep it easy to keep track of. Every 50,000 miles should be adequate. But definitely, I would change it and not just leave it, as Subaru says, lifetime. It's lifetime until the transmission craps out is what the lifetime of the fluid is. My FJ 2020 engine is making a vibration like that is rhythmic, was not like when you knew only 8,000 motor. FJ 2020. What? FJ. Not sure what you're talking about on there. My 2006 Outback WRX is leaking horribly into the passenger footwell. All drains cleared, roof rail replaced, passenger liner removed. No, is it water or coolant? If it's coolant, that would make sense that you got a blown heater cord dumping water in the passenger floorboard. Other than that, unless it's got a sunroof, you shouldn't have water coming in. Tim Brown, I'm here. Don't worry. Hey, Tim, how you doing? Why don't the 6-cylinder gaskets fail as often as the 4-cylinders? Again, it was down to the construction of the head gaskets. The 4-cylinders that failed had a single-layer coated gasket. As far as I can recall, I've never done a head gasket on a 6-cylinder, but I think they have an MLS head gasket from the factory, so likely that's the big issue or the big difference. Plus, there was far fewer 6-cylinders sold than 4-cylinders, so it's less likely that, percentage-wise, that you'd have a lot of issues with them. On the same scale as the 4-cylinder, it was like, if I remember right, I think the breakdown was like 78% of Outback Legacies had 4-cylinder engines, and the rest had 6-cylinders. It was not a very popular option for some reason until later on, before they discontinued the engine. The man 2006 Forester X at 75 mile an hour. When deaccelerating, I hear a grinding noise in the front area. It only lasts a few seconds and goes back to normal. Without getting like super into like the drivetrain issue or something like that, I would look at like your exhaust heat shields. Possibly you've got one that's caught having a rattle. I'd rather it be that than something in the drivetrain, but that's what I'd check first, is check your heat shields. And just check anything in general underneath the car in the engine compartment. Make sure you don't have anything loose. Grab stuff, of course, cold. Grab stuff, see if it rattles, see if it moves, shakes around, things of that nature. Hardest and easiest job you've done on a Subaru? Easiest job, air filter replacement, cabin air filters. I mean, there's a lot of super easy jobs. Hardest job, not really hardest job. Most aggravating job would probably be that head gasket that I just replaced about a month ago. That was, like I said, not the hardest, but it was aggravating the way it all played out. The name of the star cluster is Subaru. Huh. I feel like I knew that, but then I felt like I didn't. Great videos. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Ugh, I waited, watched, and got skipped. Sorry about that. Like I said, sometimes I get behind like 20, 30 minutes in the chats, and it'll refresh, and then I lose my spot. So some people do get skipped. Unfortunately, sorry about that. I know we've got some super chats to look at really quickly. Alex, thank you for the $10. Greatly appreciated. Hey, I've been having problems with my 2002 WRX. It sounds like it's down a cylinder. Check compression, 150 to 153 psi. All cylinders, all coils are brand new. Plugs and injectors, no metal in the oil, and oil pressure is good. Compression test doesn't always tell you everything. I would rather do a cylinder leakage test. Not going to tell you that's going to be finding your issue. When you say it sounds like it's down a cylinder, is it misfiring, or do you feel like you've got a dead miss, or what's the issue you're seeing with that? Would be follow-ups for that. We had another super chat from Alex. Let me look again. It just expired. $5. Turbo is good. No oil on. Turbo is good. No oil. No shaft play. Hope you can send me a good direction to start looking. Thanks. All love. Thanks and love the videos. Like I said, I would do a cylinder leakage tester next. Cylinder leakage test next rather than the compression test. See if you got possibly a burnt valve, something of that nature. As I said, with it feeling like you said, it felt like it was down a cylinder. Is it misfiring? Is it stumbling? What symptoms are you getting more so than just thinking you're down a cylinder? So a little bit more information would be helpful on that. Back where we were. Hey, Mr. Subaru, big thanks for the help with all of the videos. You are welcome. Good question. My 2013 3.6R is pretty reliable. Only thing is the 5EAT. It gets angry in stop and go traffic. Yeah, I have noticed that with the 5EAT. They are a little bit more temperamental than the 4EATs were. Would love to make a contribution, but Super Chat and Super Stickers are not available in my area. Jamaica, how else can I contribute? Already subscribed and bell clicked. There is, I can't remember if I've got the link in all my descriptions or all my videos, but I do have a PayPal me link if you want to chip a couple bucks at me or whatever. I think it's on my main channel page in the links in the top corner, but not sure. Also, big thanks for the help on the EJ20 one day on Instagram. Unfortunately, I got the 205 tune and it spun a bearing on the dyno. Oh, that sucks. I need a sandbar. I let a good one slip through my fingers. Yeah, I remember you tagging me in that or sending me that. Aren't the stars a representation of... Yes, that's it. Let me blind myself and get on Google real quick. Yes, sir, you're right. I don't know how to pronounce that, and I don't want to sound like a dumb redneck by trying to pronounce that, but that is I think that's the constellation, according to the Google machine and Wikipedia. Let's see. Power steering pump pulled apart. 2006 Legacy. I have a rectangular seal piece, 1/2 inch long. Not sure where it goes. Pulled apart. You saying the pulley and the shaft came out of the pump? I've seen that happen on Cadillacs and GMs. I've not seen a Subaru one do that yet. Definitely going to watch this in the morning now. Have to go to sleep. Your videos help me save lots of money. Plus, I learned a lot about proper maintenance and servicing Subarus. Greetings from Poland. Well, thank you, and good night. Hopefully, we don't rattle on too long, and that's an enjoyable rewatch for you tomorrow. We call the Constellation the Subaru in Japan. Sorry, guys, I'm pretty dumb about reading. I don't want to pronounce that incorrectly. Could be the water. Could be water. Dam in brake fluid. What? Could be water contam. That's supposed to be contamination in the brake fluid at 250,000 miles. Guys, if you don't know, the brake fluid needs to be replaced every so often. There is an interval for it. Brake fluid is what they call hydroscopic. I think, yeah, hydroscopic and hydrophobic. It attracts moisture. It attracts water. That's why on brake fluid, when you get it in the sealed container, it says do not open till used. You don't want to have it sitting around too long, especially you don't want to have the cap off. You don't want to have the cap off of your brake fluid reservoir because brake fluid will attract and pull any moisture, humidity, out of the air and into itself. That's what turns your brake fluid dark colored, black, dark brown with age, is water getting into the brake fluid and then it subsequently rusting out the inside of your calipers, inside of your wheel seals, inside the brake lines, things of that nature. And that's what dirties the fluid up. So that's why you need to flush it out periodically to get that water out of the brake fluid and get fresh brake fluid in there to keep the internals of the braking system from rusting up. So a lot of people are talking about brake fluid flushes are a scam. They're absolutely not a scam. There is a scientific and technical reason why you do replace brake fluid, because it is a wear item that if you do not replace it, it will cause harm. It will cause damage. Does it really cause a ton of damage? No, I've seen plenty of people that go lifetime of their vehicle without changing their brake fluid, but there is that possibility. Plus, it does reduce the braking feel of the car as you get more water in the system. It's a hydraulic system. Your brakes will get squishier. So if your brakes are getting mushy, a brake fluid replacement will help that in getting fresh fluid in there. CP, don't forget to hit those likes, everyone. Thanks, man, for reminding everybody. I have been turboed BRZ for 3 years now, running low boost, have had zero issues. Kind of surprised. What part of the engine is the most stressful boost on NA cars? Should I go E85? On those engines in particular, the biggest stress point is the rods, because they have those weird offset rods now where you can put the rod and piston into the engine as one and then bolt them to the crankshaft, whereas the EJ had a symmetrical rod. The offset rods, it's a weaker point, and they're more likely to bend under boost and higher stress loads. Other than that, I don't know of any other technical weak points. Probably the pistons would be a weak point because they're not made for turbocharged applications, but I know that rods are definitely a weak link when turbocharging the F-Series engines in the BRZ GT86 and FRS. Carbon buildup removal, Mighty Vac, BG, cheap Amazon kit, cleaning products. The chemical stuff, the sprays, things of that nature aren't that great at dealing with the carbon buildup. The best way to go about it, the best brain fart, getting late, didn't sleep well last night. The best results come from walnut blasting, which is not DIY friendly really, because you got to take the intake manifold off. You got to buy a blasting sandblaster kit thing, the walnut shell. You got to worry about it getting in the engine, blow it out, all kind of crap. I mean, it's an aggravating thing. DI has caused so many issues that I don't know if direct injection is worth the increase in fuel economy for the increased price of maintenance on them, because of the issues with the valves. Subaru, I really wish Subaru and Toyota to get together and put the D4S system on every car, because having the D4S system where you have 4 port injectors with 4 DI injectors, having those port injectors sporadically spray The solvent gasoline on the intake valves helps keep that carbon issue at bay. Much better than everyone else who just runs direct fuel injectors. I love my 3.6R Outback. I want to have a long and reliable life, but I can't wait for the CVT to burn up till I can give it an STI 6-speed manual swap it deserves. Another super chat really quick. Had the power steering pump pulled apart, replacing the seals. There was 2 seals in back and round other square. I know where everything else goes. Was that on the, I think you said it was 2006? They do have the rebuild kit for that, but you said it came apart in 2 pieces. Were you saying that the power steering pump itself broke, like the shaft broke and the pulley came out? Or are you saying that you broke the pump apart and rebuilding it? Is that what you were asking? Thank you. You are welcome. Don't forget the Firewater next Friday CP. He's probably off of Firewater due to, I'm sure the doctors don't want him on no Firewater right now. Yes, but I like saying the Constellation is Subaru. Well, at least Japan old language got it from. 2005 Outback, forgot to put the front-wheel drive fuse into after I drove. Okay, you already covered that one. 2007 Outback 8.6, 125,000 miles. Oil leak on the passenger side, upper passenger side cause. Oil leak on the upper passenger side. Possibly rocker cover gasket. Without seeing it or more of a description than that, I can't really point you in the direction. 2003 Outback 8.6. Bought the car and the cluster gauges do not illuminate. Have checked fuses, replaced dimmer switch with known working, and replaced all bulbs. That's a tricky one. Normally it's burnout bulbs on those. I know when I bought mine, I had 2 or 3 burnout. Also, the clock was burnout. I had to replace that bulb. Being that all the fuses are good, and replace the dimmer switch, everything else is replaced. I'd say you got a wiring issue. I'd have to pull the cluster again, pull the wiring diagram, and check that you're getting power into the cluster from the main pigtail on the illumination circuit. Other than that, you're just checking powers and grounds and seeing what you're missing. So hydrogen vehicles don't operate in cold weather very well. Yeah, I've heard that as well. What should a JDM EJ207 have for cold compression? Any of them should have about 130 psi or so. I think would be like 120, 130 probably be the minimum you'd want to see cold. But I don't have the manual in front of me for the exact specification. Seems like there's a lot of confusion about it. Yeah, there is quite a bit. I always check engines cold just because I don't like to pull spark plugs out of the aluminum cylinder heads while they're hot. Everyone else says check compression when it's hot, but if I can check it and it's got good compression cold, then I know I have good compression once it heats up. So don't really worry about it. I'm drinking magical sodas right now. What is a magical soda, Vicar? Got a tough one, 2002 WRX. Check coils, plug compression, and Hey guys, sorry about that. My computer just decided to crash randomly, but I guess that's kind of a good stopping point, or getting close to a good stopping point for the stream. Apologies to any of those that I missed. Are you guys still with me? All right, so computer crashed. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. I'm going to try to get going, at least go another 10-15 minutes. Not sure what the deal is right now. Everything's being screw-waddy. Oh, come on, connect. You guys still hear me in the chat? Anyone still watching? Okay, you can still hear me, you just can't see me. I'm still trying to get the camera back on. I don't know what the deal is. Like I said, my computer crashed. Sorry about that, guys. Was not expecting that. We just got black screen there for whatever reason. So going to try to get the camera to work. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's being crazy. I'm going to try to restart it again. Battery's not dead. So where are we at on questions? Like I said, we're probably going to close this out pretty soon unless I can get things back up and rolling. Camera's still not wanting to work for stupid reason. I don't know why. This is like talk radio. Yeah, I kind of like Mr. Subaru went to the sunken place. What? Sound is back. Podcast now. Make sure US utility is exited. Yep. I don't know why it keeps opening. It'll open and then it'll come back and then it goes back blank screen. I don't know what's up with. Let me see if I can. Random guy, thank you so much for the $50. I greatly appreciate that. Cheers, my friend. Sound professional advice should never be free. Thank you for making it so. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Use a flip phone like CP. I think he uses iPad, right, CP? Thanks for all the info. As always, Mr. Subaru, you are welcome. Wow, that random guy, that's awesome. Yeah, thanks again. Greatly appreciated. Like I said, if I can get the freaking camera to come back on, I don't know why EOS utility is wanting to be crazy right now and not connect. Unplug and reconnect camera. I've done that twice. I've cut it off and cut it back on. I'll try one more time, and if not, I guess we're going to turn this into a podcast instead of a live stream. At least you don't have to look at my ugly mug. Oh, plug back in. I can't see to plug it back in. Bear with me, guys. I'm trying. Oh, come on. I cannot get this USB cable to plug back in the camera. What
Oh, moving it.
There we go. Stupid computer just had to go and crash on us. Let's see if I can get back to you guys' questions while I'm trying to get this back up and going. Why did Subaru reduce the towing capacity from 2,000 to 1,500 on Crosstrek and Forester? I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it was to stifle people from getting crazy with them and trying to tow more than they should with them. Not exactly sure what the deal was there. Again, I just think it was people would probably overload and towing them. Had a problem with EOS webcam utility giving blank screen if regular EOS utility is open. Yeah, it keeps popping up every time I restart the camera, but I shut it off and it's still not wanting to come up. What is your opinion on Gates time belt kit made in China pulleys? Did you ever experience one failing? No, but I just don't trust them. It's not worth the money saved compared to the Japanese components that come in the ASIN kit, which are Subaru genuine, or buying from Subaru. I'd rather have the Japanese bearings than the Chinese ones just because, or even running in the taskbar. I'll have to check that and make sure. Control Alt Delete real quick. Task Manager. Is EOS utility running? EOS utility in task. See if that works. How can I extend the life of the head gasket on 2002 Outback? You really can't. You're really just extending borrowed time. I mean, until you replace it with the MLS gasket, you're gonna have to worry about it failing eventually. There's no, and you're not gonna string it out forever. That's what I'm trying to say. Got a 2003 WRX wagon. The car start fine at cold start, but when it's warmed up, drive for a while, turn it off the car to do my thing, come back and it wouldn't start after a few tries. Help. Sounds like possibly a ECT sensor, engine coolant temperature sensor. Could be a weak fuel pump. Couple other things it could be off the top of my head. Any codes, anything like that? I'm assuming not. Regarding EVs, I meant hydrogen fuel cell EVs as opposed to battery EVs. Each technology has its benefits and detriments. Okay, yeah. Yep. I was thinking of the hydrogen run internal combustion engine hydrogen cars, not the hydrogen fuel cells, but you're right. There are different technologies. Don't know enough about them, honestly, to comment. I have a 2014 WRX. When should I change my timing belt? 2014 WRX would be the last EJ255. So between 90 and 105,000 miles is normal time to change it. Have a 2012 Legacy 2.5i 6-speed. I'm looking to swap EG33 flywheel mount up to the EG33, which I currently. That's going to be a heck of a swap to do. You're going to have lots of wiring to worry about. I don't know. I personally wouldn't tackle that. But if you want to, it's your time, your money. So more power to you. The EG33 will bolt directly up, bolt the flywheel, clutch, everything from your 6-speed to the EG33, and it'll basically go into place as far as clearance between. Actually, no, because that's a 2012, so it's got the offset mounts. I don't know if you can actually mount an EG33 into that chassis just due to the fact that they don't use the regular puck engine mounts that sit on the cross member on those cars. So you're probably going to have quite a bit of time in fabrication and making that work. Hi, everyone, and to you, Mr. Subaru, from an STI owner, Saudi Arabia. Hello to you. Need to see how I can get my picture on that avatar thingamabob. I don't think I can do that, though, without paying. Let's see. No problem. Just glad you were answering questions. Hit the like, everyone. Thanks for that, James. I'm going to try punching out my bearings and buying some Koyo ones online for the pulley. That can be done that way. I'm just a property boy. You can buy the individuals on Amazon. I think I've got them linked in my Amazon storefront as well. The NSK, Koyo, and NTN bearings. Any official engine issues with the Ascent? Mine has been down for 3 months with a blown engine due to the PCV malfunction and collapse valve. I'm hoping Subaru is replacing that for you. It should have been replaced quicker than 3 months. I've seen in the Subaru Tech page that there have been issues with oil pan leakage. Again, due to, as I said earlier, the automated assembly robots missing RTV in assembling the engines. I'd seen the issue with the PCV malfunction. There's also some kind of issue with smoke from the exhaust. It was something to do with the PCV, I think, as well, and the turbo. Not exactly sure. I think it was something to do with the scavenger pump on the turbo system. Can't remember. Like I said, not working in the dealership, not working on brand new Subarus, I really don't see firsthand the issues that are coming up with them. Already asked, but I'll repeat. I have a 2007 Impreza with an EJ253. I'm having an electrical problem inside. I can shut the car off and pull the keys and open the door, but the radio stays on. That is an odd issue. I don't know why the radio would stay on unless you must have a short somewhere to. Is it the aftermarket radio or the factory radio? I'm assuming it's an aftermarket. I need that clarification. DIY induction cleaning suggestions. Seafoam EJ205 here. Seafoam's okay. I really don't do upper engine cleans myself, but it's not going to hurt anything to use Seafoam. The only problem I have had so far with my 2016 STS steering rack leak, I had heard some issues with steering racks leaking, but again, haven't seen them personally because I haven't really worked on anything that new other than my 2019 WRX I had. I have to load the system with the windshield wiper switch to kill power. That's odd. To turn the radio off or to kill the battery completely? I would assume just to turn the radio off. Again, is it an aftermarket or a factory radio? How much do you think a Subaru dealership charged for time belt service on a 20? I have no clue. The prices vary across the country depending on where you're at, what the labor is going to be, so I cannot say. Call them and ask for an estimate. EJ22E keeps having an absolute not EJ22E keeps having a abos. You have to correct I'm not sure what you're saying there. Hi, Mr. Subaru. Love the videos. I have a 2002 Forester S 5-speed. I was wondering if the dynamic dampeners are needed on the rear diff outrigger bar. Subaru doesn't list the part anymore. The dynamic dampener. Are you talking about the little puck-looking disc things that are bolted onto the was it bolted on the rear spindles or on the rear lateral links? What are you talking about? 2011 Outback 177,000 miles, I guess. Poor acceleration going up hills, getting on the highway. Get to 65. Can get to 65, takes a bit. Codes 0700, 26, blah, blah, blah. One mechanic said replace valve body, possible trans. Two mechanics said fix C codes first. I think we talked about this in the last stream, didn't we? Or someone else had the exact same issue. Yeah, it sounds like valve body issue from the 702 to 2762. As for the C codes, I can't recall off the top of my head what the C codes are. But I would have to pull the flow chart to see which it recommends doing. I think when you have a 700, you do diagnose the other codes first. Have you replaced any coil packs on your LL Bean? Nope, all original at 300,000 miles. Rarely do I see Subaru original Diamond brand coils fail. Do Rally Sport unequal length headers bolt up directly to a 2007 Legacy? I do not know. Sorry. Is rod knock a common problem with the EJ253s as they age? Normally only if you run them low on oil. Not really a common issue. Excuse me. Otherwise, it's a factory grader. That's odd. Something shorted out in there. I feel more comfortable getting them off Amazon. Thanks for the Amazon info in your description. You are welcome. Thanks for reply. The 2012 Legacy did come with the 3.6R, which engine is EZ30. Thanks again for that. Yeah, but the EZ30 and Z36 have different mounting than the older EG33, which is basically an EJ series engine with 2 extra cylinders. So the mounts are different. I don't know if, well, I don't know. It's been a while since I looked at one. I don't remember if the 3.6 and the 3 liter used the same mounts or if it was different. But you may be able to adapt the 3.6 mounts to work with the EG33. I'm not sure, though. Never seen that swap done, so that's a new one. Also, the PowerPoint does the same thing. The windshield wiper switch kills both to power to both. You got a weird issue going on there. Something shorted out in the wiring harness. Something funky's going on. Weird one, but the dipstick on my 2012 Impreza never comes up with oil fully covering the dipstick. When I drain the oil, the volume does not seem abnormally low. I don't know what to tell you on that. I mean, as long as you're putting the proper amount of oil in there and you got oil in the stick, I mean, you should be fine. I love your videos, Mr. Subaru. I have a 2007 Legacy 2.5. We talked about that, I think, already with the headers. Don't know. Yes, the pucks. Mine were destroyed and can't find any. I don't honestly know if that's a big issue or not. I cannot tell you. I've not taken them off of a car and driven it, but I don't know how much it actually helps or what it actually does, in all honesty. My 2003 WRX is sluggish. That's pretty open-ended there. Did you have problems with your 2019 WRX? No, never had any issues, but I didn't have it but for a couple months and 3,000, 4,000 miles, something like that. I rarely drove it. Okay, here we go. EJ22E keeps having an absolute manifold pressure check. Engine light keeps coming off and on. So you got a map sensor code with engine light. Which map sensor code are you getting? Why is the camera being so crazy? And the camera still doesn't want to work. C45 is brake pressure sensor B. In your opinion, is the EJ22 was one of the best Subaru? Yeah, the EJ22Es were some of the most reliable Subaru engines ever made. Not necessarily the best, but they were super reliable. Rarely see any issues out of them at all as long as they're maintained. Thanks for responding. After a few try starting, I did have code PO335 when I got it start. When it doesn't want to after driving somewhere. Okay, the one that was getting up to temperature and then wanting to cut off. PO335 crankshaft position sensor circuit with heat. Likely got a bad crankshaft position sensor. I'm not saying go throw one on it, but normally when a crank or cam sensor fails, it does so with heat. So that would be the first thing I would look at. Brake pressure switch, Usdm communication circuit. I have not personally diagnosed those issues, so I'm not sure where to point you on that. I'm not sure if that would be a wiring issue or a problem with the PCM itself. Well, a bad starter drained my battery intermediately. No, usually when a starter's bad, it will not crank. If you're having your battery die, normally it's a load pulling power somewhere else. Normally if the starter's pulling power, it's going to be turning. So, way to check that would be to disconnect the power at the starter and the ground. Well, no, that won't work because that's basically the main. I'm not thinking straight. Take the starter off and get it tested. Most parts places will test the starter alternator for free. But I doubt the starter is what's causing the battery drain. 2003 Impreza is sluggish when it comes up on boost when going from second to third. Maintenance on it. Last time you did spark plugs, air filter, things of that nature, fuel filter, all that kind of stuff. Where I'll go from there. Thanks for answering all of your videos and appreciate you doing this for all of us. You are welcome. Wish I could be more helpful on that, but it's kind of hard to diagnose strange electrical issues over the internet. Can you overfill the oil by half a quart or so, or will it cause damage? I mean, you can. You can completely fill the engine with oil till it comes out the top of the filler. Will it cause damage? Yeah. Will half a quart over cause damage? No, not likely. Hello, do you have any video that explain how to change the time belt on Subaru Outback 2000 4-cylinder? Yep, I've got several videos on dual overhead cam and single overhead cam Subaru time belt replacements. Can't thank you enough for how much you've taught me. I'm getting my fourth Subaru soon enough. I'll definitely be using that PayPal link. Thank you. I'd greatly appreciate that. And you are welcome. PO 106 for the map sensor, which is map sensor circuit range problem. So might be losing the 5-volt reference, might be losing the signal. Disconnect the pigtail, check the pigtail, both ends of the sensor side and the wiring harness side. Check for any loose wires, check for any corrosion in the connector. Other than that, you may have a sensor that's intermediately failing. Easy way to check that, or easier way to look into that, if you had a scan tool of live data where you could monitor the map sensor output. 2006 Outback with 250,000 miles. Hesitates, installs at idle. New starter and fuel pump assembly. MAF good. Throttle body clean. New spark plugs and coil. Any idea what to check next? Love your videos. Hesitates, installs at idle. Any check engine light. Read that through again. I don't think so. With everything you've replaced so far, and if it doesn't have a check engine light or any codes, kind of hard to help you there. New starter, new fuel pump. MAF is good. Throttle body clean. New spark plugs and coil. I'd say fuel pressure, but you got a new pump. Should be good there. I'd say check spark, but you got new plugs and new coils, so you should be good there. Clean the throttle body. That would be the other thing. So I'm not exactly sure where to point you on that exactly. Have you got a check engine light? Any codes? Past, present, intermediate would be the next question, I guess. Would like your videos on 3 Subarus and 02 model S04 and 05 Baja. Well, thank you. Glad you like the videos. Regarding earlier question about the key on the 2000 Forester, if the graphite thing fails, how do I go about replacing the key for the barrel as well as the slot in the driver's door? Don't want 2 keys. You would have to take the your VIN number to the Subaru dealership, and they should be able to order you a key and cylinder that matches the key code, where you wouldn't have to worry about your lock cylinders on the doors being different. That's all I could really suggest. They should be able to order the lock cylinder keyed for that without having to change it out, or otherwise you'd have to have 2 keys or change out the lock cylinders on the doors. Thanks for reply. Appreciate the info. You're welcome. So my camera is doing weird stuff. It just keeps restarting by itself for some reason now. I don't know what that deal is. Still will not work though. No. Dang it. I really wish that would start working again. Well, we're coming up on 9:20. We've been live for 1 hour and 49 minutes. I think we'll wrap that up at 2 hours, which would be 9:30. So about 10 more minutes, guys, and we'll get off here. Sorry again for the technical issues. Didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't mean for my computer to crash. It's about time to build a new computer. This is a 2016 build, so we're coming up on 4 years without any major replacements. So I don't know if I'm having issues with the power supply, motherboard, something like that. I don't know, but I've been having a lot of increasing exponentially amount of blue screens lately, and it gets aggravating, especially when editing videos and I haven't saved in a while and it crashes and I got to restart what I've edited. Why does Crosstrek CVT feel like it lags on acceleration? Because it's only got like 140 horsepower. That's the best as I can tell you. I mean, mine feels like it lags too, but again, it's 140 horsepower, so it's not a WRX, not a STI, not an Outback 3.6. So, I mean, they're going to be laggy. No check engine light. That's not giving me much to work on with as much stuff as you put on it. Where to go from there? Hey, thanks for awesome advice. 2005 Forester EJ205. No engine oil light. Plugged off the wire from the switch. Still no light. Help. Plugged off the wire from the switch. No engine oil light. So key on without starting the engine. Your oil light is not coming on. And is that what you're saying? Vacuum leaks for Clayton. Yeah, check for vacuum leaks. That could be an issue too. Didn't even cross my mind this late. But can't remember if you said it was a 6-cylinder or 4-cylinder. I'd take some brake parts cleaner or throttle body cleaner while it's running and spray around the base of the intake manifold where it mounts to the head. There had been some issues with intake gaskets failing on the later EJ253, so check for that. If you took the throttle body off to clean it, spray around the throttle body where it meets the intake manifold just in case the gasket didn't seal back up if you didn't replace the gasket. Hey, thanks. Awesome videos. Okay, we already did that one. No, do we? Yeah. Yeah, did that one. CVT kind of feels like slipping clutch and then catches. Is that normal for CVT? Yeah, they kind of have an odd feeling to them when driving them. Not so much slipping clutch than catches though. Is it like jerking you when you say it catches, or what are you getting? You got the fuel line kink maybe. PO 133. What was PO 133? In response to that was oxygen sensor code for slow response. No error codes found, no leaks. Is that about the CVT? Getting stuff out of order, I'm getting tired. Could you please tell me if I want Subaru super coolant when refilling at 2010 WRX? I just redid time belt and water pump, and I want to know before I refill it tonight. If it had super coolant in it, which it should have, being a 2010, put super coolant back in it. You're perfectly fine to put green in it. It doesn't matter if they mix. Just if you put green in it, your service life is 3 years, 36,000 miles, rather than the 10-year, 100,000 miles Subaru tells you on the blue coolant, or 8-year, 80,000 miles. I'm more comfortable with on the blue coolant. PO420 code. Car passed emissions. Are you asking if it will? Because it most likely will fail emissions with 420 code. And the 420 code is most likely a failed catalytic converter. Possibly oxygen sensor contamination, but normally cat dead. Kind of, maybe your laptop blew a head gasket. No, it's not a laptop, it's a desktop. I've got my Canon DSLR 6D Mark II hooked up into the new webcam feature, and I think I got a problem with the software or something going on. Maybe I need to restart the computer again since it crashed and restarted from a crash. Could be the issue, not sure. What's the best place to purchase beside the dealership? SubaruParts.com on Amazon. Subaru Parts Deal, Subaru Parts Discount, Subaru Parts. Can't remember all the sites. There's several that I use, but it's pretty easy to shop around and compare prices. Yes, saying that engine on, key on, engine off, no light. Have you checked the bulb? Make sure the bulb's not burnt out. That can happen. 2003 needs emissions for Colorado every 2 years. Yeah, with the 420 code, you're not going to pass then. Okay, we do got some codes. 15, 18, 08, 51, 1153, 1152, 140, 1153, and 1152. I think those are for the oil control solenoids. Not sure. Let's see if we can look that up real quick. 1152 is oxygen sensor range performance. I'm assuming 52 is heater, is sensor 1, bank 1. I'm assuming the 53, is sensor 2. PO 140 is, I think that's oxygen sensor related to. PO 140 is oxygen sensor related. 1518 is... Camera keeps going off and on. Sounds like you need to check your oxygen sensors. Everything's coming down to that. With 250,000 miles, have you replaced the oxygen sensors in the car? How long have you owned it? If the oxygen sensors have gotten contaminated, that could be causing issues. If you had the scan tool with live data, I'd be interested to know if your short-term and long-term fuel trims are on the car too. Is there a way to stop the brake pedal rattle on the 2011 Outback? The rattle is annoying. Have not personally experienced a rattle. I'm sure there's probably some kind of bushing in there, but not sure. Lost number 3-cylinder at 228,000 miles. Replaced it with a JDM. How reliable are those engines? The JDM engines are pretty reliable. They don't really have the head gasket issues the 2.5s did, but again, regular maintenance is key. Oops, means Subaru conditioner. Oh, use Subaru coolant conditioner. That's up to you. As we talked about in a video a year or so ago, Subaru coolant conditioner is just rebranded Holtz Radweld. It's a coolant stop leak additive. If you don't have an issue, I wouldn't put it in there. Weber is the place to purchase time belt kits beside the dealer. It's late. I meant Subaru coolant conditioner. My bad. It's late. You're good. If you floor the Crosstrek CVT, it will be jerky. I soft foot it so it doesn't just kind of let the engine spin up and let the slipping clutch feeling that it catches and goes fine. Yeah, there is a lag with the CVT. That is normal, but I wouldn't go out there and flat foot it. Just me. I'm kind of easy on mine. But yeah, they are laggy. That is part of the CVT because the variators do have to change size to change the ratio to get the acceleration going. CV axle boot has a split worth the $16 for the boot. Normally, I do not replace boots. I replace the whole axle with a reman because for my time in labor to pull the axle to replace a boot, I can go ahead and put a reman axle in there and not worry about it coming back. Depending on how long the boot's been broken, if it slung the grease out, if water and crud's got in there and hurt the joint. Again, for my money, I just put an axle in it. If you want to attempt to put the boot on there, more power to you. It's an aggravating kind of thing to do, but your time and your money. So if you want to try it, go ahead for it. Bought a time belt kit from All Drive Auto in Washington. It's an extra heavy duty kit worth a look. Picked up the head gasket kit too. When was the last time you did a fresh install of Windows? It's not been changed since I first put the system together in 2016. It's still running. I'm pretty sure I'm on Windows 10 Professional. I think the last year was 2015, 2016, but I'm more familiar with the JDM stuff, not USDM. Not sure what that was on. Why don't they offer turbocharged engines anymore? No clue. I assume for warranty issues, I don't want to be warranting a bunch of people born to turbos. I don't know. Speculation. What time belt kit should I use? What brake pads do you also recommend? Buy an ASIN kit. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's TKF 006 or 004, I think, for the single overhead cam for the Forester. If you go into the description on any of my videos and go to the Amazon storefront, I've got the ASIN time belt kits there. They have all the genuine Subaru components in them at half the price of dealership cost. That's why I use the ASIN kits compared to anyone else. What brake pads do you also recommend? Subaru brake pads are normally recommended. They're not that much more expensive than what you get at the parts store, and they fit perfectly as they're supposed to. Have seen issues, not with the brake pads, but with brake rotors. Aftermarket rotors are a little bit thicker than the factory brake rotors, and I have heard issues of people having cracked their calipers and the brakes hanging due to the fact that the rotors are thicker in aftermarket rotors than Subaru genuine rotors. Replace the oxygen sensor, bank 1, sensor 2. Okay, sensor 2 would be the post-catalyst sensor. That will not have any issue on the engine running. You want to change your sensor 1s, your upstream sensors. Check them out. How did the downstream sensor look when you pulled it out? I got 250,000. I would say pretty reliable. Just keep changing your oil. Can you come to Philly and fix my WRX? Probably not. That's quite a trip up to Philadelphia. And I'm pretty sure y'all are still kind of locked down up that way, I think. It'd probably be difficult to get in there and do that kind of work mobily, especially that far from home. Plus, you didn't specify what's wrong with it, so depending on that, that's a part of the determining factor there. But yeah, I don't do travel work. Sorry, guys. Okay, thank you so much, you man. You are welcome. Can you link the to correct ACE and water pump kit belt, water pump time belt kit on Amazon for the EJ22E? It is a TKF 002, I believe. You'll know it because it's got the funky old school tensioner. It doesn't have that swing arm tensioner. It's got the tilt pulley, and actually, no, I don't think they have that. I don't think ASIN offers the kit for that. I think last time I did one of those, I had to piece it together. I may be wrong. Look real quick. 1995 Legacy 2 ASIN time belt kit. Let's see. So TKF something. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to burn up a ton of time with y'all staring at a blank screen. I think you see the little blank thing here. Okay, it looks like TKF 03 is the correct time belt kit for your EJ22E. Just looking offhand, yep, it's saying it is the correct for the 2.2 with the old style tensioner. So TKF 003 should be the one you need. 156,000 miles, 2010 Legacy, cylinder 4-cylinder, not turbo. Huh? Or the kit number. I should use Subaru coolant or off-brand coolant. It doesn't really matter as long as you change it on time. It's not that crucial. It's a drain and fill service. 2011 Outback CBT issue 2762, most likely a valve body replacement coming up. There are tests in place. I think I covered some of the testing in the video I did on that. But most likely you're going to need a valve body because you cannot replace that solenoid separate from the valve body. Also, leaking, consuming almost a quart every 1,000 miles, assuming it's the head gasket, but it's such a problem as long as they keep oil in it. If you're losing oil, depending on what engine you said you had, I can't remember now, I think a 253, you'd probably see oil leaking externally between the head and the block at the parting line. Tried replacing the torque converter with new parts, worked for a few months, and then the light came back on. Dealer replaced the valve body and filter, and that worked for a few months. Okay, if you've already replaced your valve body and it came back, that's weird. You might have a wiring issue then. Light still came back on. Any ideas? Was it under warranty? I assume not, being a 2011 when the dealer did it. Did you take it back to them after you paid all that money for the replacement? They said that was what was going to fix the issue. I'd be taking it back to them and getting them to fix the issue because that's what you paid for, unless you just told them to go ahead and put a valve body in it. Not sure why they don't offer turbos anymore. The good news is you can get aftermarket turbos for most vehicles. Yep. Is a drain and fill adequate for auto transmission and coolant on 2003 Legacy? Yep. Drain and refill. Slow down. Is fine, but as far as the coolant on an 03, just go ahead and pull the block drains, and then you're good. You've completely flushed the system, or changed all the fluid in the coolant system. You pull those block drains with the 14 millimeter plug. As far as the transmission, you change between a third and a half of the fluid when you do a drain and refill. So change it, drive it to the next oil change it again. You should be basically new fluid. Here's the issue. Engine was failing to start, crank, and no start. Sometimes it would. Change spark plugs. I hear fuel pump working. Subaru dealership was a software issue. What was that in regards to? Oh, 2010 Legacy not starting. That's interesting. Software issue. They updated CPU 5 days later, same issue. Well, obviously that was not the problem. 2011 Outback, CVT issue. Yep, we talked about that. Not full lockdown in Philly, still have Crosstrek trunk cover for you. Oh, that's right. I do need to. I forgot about that you had the cargo cover. All right, guys, we are 2 hours and 5 minutes in. I'm going to try to look at everybody real quick. Thank you, Johnny. Greatly appreciate the $2 super chat. Thank you. Sorry, guys, leave you hanging. Let's see if we can. A different mechanic at Export Special Shop said body control module was disconnected and not working. $800 later part. Fuel accelerator drops RPM, still stalls twice completely. The body control module was disconnected. It wouldn't have done anything at all. So that's weird. Sorry, that's one of those things I'd have to see it to be more helpful on it, honestly. I know that's not reassuring and not what you wanted to hear, but sometimes that's how it goes with that kind of stuff. I really want to see the car in person. All right, guys. Like I said, we're over 2 hour mark. We still got 120 people watching. Well, it just jumped to 109. I guess you all decided to bail out real quick. Sorry again for the technical difficulties. Hopefully, I don't know if I'm going to do this every week. Like I said, I'm going to try to do it once a month. The only reason we really did it today is because I haven't had a chance to film a normal video for Sunday like I normally have out. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, hanging out with me, and sticking around even through the camera crapping out and my computer crashing. So that said, thanks a lot, guys. I hope you all have a great week. If you have tomorrow off for Columbus Day, enjoy your extended weekend. If not, hope you have a happy and safe week ahead. Thank you again so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys later.